Zoom was downloaded more than 485 million times last year. Do you know what that means? Most people, whether they like it or not, have to be on camera for work these days, or even just to connect with our families around the world. As you're probably aware, not too many people know how to really shine on camera and come across as a professional in their industry. You may have actually noticed that you, or maybe one of your colleagues, turns up like a scruffy amateur when it comes to virtual business meetings. In fact, many people are just turning up in setting a very low bar for all online presentations. But just because they are doesn't mean that you have to. In this video, I'm going to share with you 5 tips so you can be seen as a leader and an influencer in your workspace. That means you're going to be perceived in a better light by your colleagues and your boss, just by incorporating these 5 tips. So if you need to step it up a notch, this video is for you. Q&A Tuesday, all your voice questions answered. Hi, I'm Elisa James, voice and presentation coach and founder of the Voice of Confidence public speaker training. Today, since many of us are working from home and we have to attend virtual meetings, well, if you're not looking polished or professional on camera, shame on you. It's about time. So let's dive in. Tip number 1, business context. Look, if you were working at the office like normal, you would get dressed, brush your hair, pack your briefcase, and attend the meeting in a conference room at work. You certainly wouldn't be having a serious meeting in the office kitchen or in the bathroom or under a tree. Look, I know it's really tempting to get all loosey-goosey when it comes to being stuck at home for work, but look, this is just being lazy. There's no excuse for having a bad background setting when you're on camera. So if you're using Zoom, the easiest thing is to just download some very simple, nice pictures so they sit behind you when you're speaking on camera. I downloaded some of these literally from the IKEA catalog. I screenshot them on my computer and then I uploaded them into Zoom as a virtual background. It makes things look really fresh and very clean looking. But look, if you're not on Zoom and you don't have the opportunity to put a virtual background in, then you've just got to find a nice, quiet, clutter-free spot in your house that seems a little clean and professional. Whatever you do, don't have piles of books and rubbish and things piled up behind you, because people will be distracted the whole time that you're speaking, looking at the interesting things behind you instead of you speaking. So make sure you are the one that's shining, not your messy background. Tip number 2, energy. As a voice and presentation coach, I know the value of speaking up and raising your pitch to get better engagement from the audience. However, most people just don't speak at their best due to a lack of training and mindfulness. If you're slouched over and all comfy in your office chair, you're never going to sound confident and competent as a speaker. So I suggest, if you want to sound more like a leader when you speak, then stand up and present yourself as though you're on stage or in a boardroom, the normal places that you would be presenting. Everyone presents in the front of the room in those cases. You can do that by simply raising the computer up by placing a box underneath it. Then you're looking directly down the barrel of the camera as normal. Look, nobody looks good when the camera is too low or too high. And let's face it, when we're speaking to people face to face, we're always speaking at eye level when we're giving someone our full attention, of course. So if you want to add more energy, at least sit on the very edge of your chair in an upright position like this, or stand up when you present. You will sound so much more strong and compelling when you speak with that raised energy level. Tip number 3, practice. There's a really great tip that I learned a very long time ago pertaining to learning a song or a performance piece before you go on stage. It's so relevant to this topic today, I thought I'd share it with you. It's simply this: an amateur practices until they get it right, but a professional practices until they can't get it wrong. Do you see the difference? Which way are you practicing your presentations? One of my students said to me once,
"Oh, I don't practice because that would mean, I would come out all fake sounding if I practice too much."
And yeah, she's right, only if you practice the wrong way. But if you do this, learn the structure and the framework only of your presentation, and then rehearse the pieces in the middle from your expertise and knowledge, you will smash it. But you won't if you don't practice correctly. So before any presentation, even a 5-minute one, practice your opener and closer at least 10 times. That way, if you're nervous or have distractions at all in the beginning or the end of the meeting, you'll get through no problem at all. Tip number 4, dress for success. If you were doing a presentation on stage in a boardroom or in a conference, you'd be expected to turn up in business attire suited to the situation. Now, just because you're at home now, instead of having your whole body in the public eye, it doesn't mean that we can get sloppy or lazy. So when you're presenting for work, present your material in the same way that you would when you're on stage. Dress smartly, brush your hair, iron your shirt, put some makeup on, whatever you would normally do for a work presentation environment. And just make sure that you have headphones on as well, so you minimize the dog, the baby, the washing machine, and all that stuff that can go on at home behind the scenes. You might want to also invest in a little clamp light to make sure that you've got adequate light on your face when you're presenting. The worst thing you can do is not be in frame, have noise in the background, and you're sitting in the dark like a mushroom. You will never get to the next rung of the corporate ladder if you turn up like that. Tip number 5, back up. Hang on. I don't mean back up from me, silly. I mean back up your presentation for safety. Tech issues and disasters happen to all of us at the worst of times. And I've learned the very hard way that there are some foolproof ways around having to pick up and go on when things go wrong. Number 1 is make a PDF of your presentation and save it in Google Drive for emergencies. Then share the backup of your PowerPoint and your PDF with another colleague who's going to be on the Zoom call. During the Zoom call, make sure that they become co-host just in case you get booted off, and they can continue your presentation while you figure out how to get back on. Now, as a very last resort, another thing you could do is simply print out your presentation or write dot points on a whiteboard and put it right behind your computer just in case everything goes wrong. Then suddenly you have to do your presentation without any notes or any slides. Well, if you have all your notes in front of you, you're going to be fine. Look, no one has to look bad or unprofessional on video. Nobody. There is no excuse to show up at less than your best. So use these 5 tips today to present your next work meeting in a professional and a polished way. Now, if you're still a bit nervous on camera, then check out the other videos on my channel to get you over that public speaking fear. I know you'll find the rest of the content really useful as well, and I'll see you next time.